I'm not an attorney, so I don't give legal advice on this kind of stuff, but estate planning is a very important issue. And basically there are there are three ways to approach estate planning. One would be to do nothing, okay? And then the government will decide where your assets go, okay? You die without a will or a trust, the government will decide through probate where your assets go. If you have a surviving spouse, there is no question everything will go to the surviving spouse. But if there's not a surviving spouse, there could be all kinds of things that make it a drawn out and difficult process, okay? Next would be to have a will, and a will is an absolutely fine document. It will tell the courts what you want to be done with your assets, okay? The problem with a will, in the world we live in today, unfortunately, is that a will is a public document, okay? Anybody can go to the courthouse and look at your estate in the form of the items that are listed in your will. They don't even have to go to the courthouse to do this, as a matter of fact, anymore. They can simply do that from the comfort of their home. All that information is now online. We wanted to make it easy for the criminals, okay? You know, so they can sit in their underwear at home and peruse all this information. And you know what they do? They read the obituaries, okay? And so they'll watch the obituaries. They'll see somebody has passed away, and they say that, you know, Mary Smith passed away. Her husband, John, had preceded her in death 5 years earlier. And they're going, oh, this is, and they read down and say, this sounds like a family that had been successful. They probably have assets. And Mary has no counsel, perhaps, or children, and she probably doesn't like her children that much anyway. And so they can now target Mary by going in and just running scams. They know all the stock she has, they know all the investments that she has, they know all the houses that she owns, and all this stuff. It just opens the door up wide, okay? So that's not a good thing. That's a pretty dangerous thing. Plus, probate is extremely expensive. It costs a lot of money to go through probate, and it's based upon a percentage of the estate. Okay, here's a really nasty fluke of probate. Okay, let's say you just went out and you bought a house for $500,000 and you put down $100,000, so you got $400,000 debt on that house remaining. If you die, probate costs are based upon the full $500,000 value of market value of the house, not upon how much equity you have in there. So there's a lot of things. It's very expensive, and probate takes a long, long time. Okay, we used to have, I think, 3 or 4 probate courts in San Diego County, one up north, one east, one South Bay, and then one downtown. We now have one probate court, and it's only open 4 days a week. So it takes a long time to get this stuff. The other option then, and we'll move on from here, the other option is a living trust. And a living trust is exactly that. It's a living and breathing document that explains where you want your assets to go, and upon your death, those assets are distributed at that moment in time. It's done privately, and nobody knows about what's in your trust or what your assets are. And creating a trust, depending on your situation, is not an expensive situation. It's not that expensive. If you have a complicated estate, then there could be higher fees involved. But for the most part, developing a living trust, I mean, you've all heard places like LegalZoom.com. You can go onto LegalZoom.com and create your living trust if you have a real simple trust. A simple set of assets and stuff like that. And certainly there are a lot of attorneys out there that can help you with that. It's a very good way to go. I have a good friend who has 2 young daughters. I think one of them's 12 now and the other one's like 8. And he says to me all the time, he says, you know, I don't know who my girls are going to marry, but I already don't like the guys, okay? Okay. And so, you know, he's worried that because he's a pretty wealthy guy, that these girls could be, somebody could try to game him up on this stuff. And so he has built his trust so that there's no way a spouse can have access to it. Only access to the assets would be directly through his children. So these are the kinds of things. Trusts work very well. They're not complicated. They're very simple. And again, a trust is simply a titling tool. It's nothing more than that. It's not an investment in and of itself. It holds your investment. So it's pretty much simple as that. So